Hey Falcons fans, let's talk about this game, which was a roller coaster of emotions, but in the end we came out with a victory over the Saints. So, click the like button and subscribe to the channel and let's go. So, Falcons family, we're going to tell you about another one of those heart-stopping games. But the important thing is that we managed to come out with the victory, even though it was a bit of a messy game, to say the least. You know those division games where the rivalry is louder and nothing seems to work right? Well, that's exactly what happened. But what matters is that in the end we beat the Saints, and that's always a reason to celebrate, right? Now, let's start by talking about who's shown in the game, our linebacker, Troy Anderson. Guys, the guy was everywhere on the field. He had 9 solo tackles and 6 assists, not to mention that wonderful 47-meter pick six with a little help from Juden. Anderson was simply unstoppable. It seems like he's finally finding his rhythm at the moment, and look, he was the MVP of our defense and, perhaps, of the entire game. He shut up those who were criticizing him and showed that he deserves to be on the field. Unfortunately, though, not everything is perfect. He ended up getting hurt on a play that he shouldn't have been on, and now we're left hoping that it's nothing serious. Let's hope, Falcons Nation. But look, not everything was perfect. Our defense had its ups and downs, and the one who let us down was slot corner D. Alford. After 2 weeks in ruins, he'll need to redeem himself, but honestly, it didn't happen. Okay, he had that moment of brilliance in the turnover in the end zone, but other than that, it was tough. It seems like the opposing offenses have found his weak spot and are exploiting it mercilessly. The question is, what is our defensive coordinator, Jimmy Lake, going to do about it? He has to give other guys a chance, like Antonito Hamilton or Clark Phillips, because Alford can't handle it. That's what needs to change next week, before things get worse. Now, guys, we have to talk about something that reminded me of the Dan Quinn days. And look, it's not a good memory. What was that mess, both on offense and defense? We scored touchdowns twice, and both were disallowed because of calls. Seriously, it's so frustrating to watch the clock play out like that. And what about that third down call that Raheem Morris didn't even challenge? That's something for preseason, guys, not a regular season game. It seems like, at times, the coaching staff took a nap. And let's be honest, the Saints practically gave the game away to us. They were struggling with injuries, but we still almost let the win slip away. Why are we risking 30-yard passes when we only need 8 or 10 to make the field goal easier for Koo? And why do we insist on keeping veterans like Kentavious Street, who have only been a hindrance, when we could give the rookies a chance to show their worth? And Troy Anderson, why was he still playing on special teams when we had just signed a linebacker who specializes in that? Anyway, it seems like there was a lack of intelligence in the game planning. Now, one thing that really worries us, guys, is our interior defensive line. It's hard to watch. We thought we were doing well, but the reality is different. They're not even standing out in defense against the ground game anymore. And look, the Saints were short on the offensive line, and even so, our pass rush was practically non-existent. Grady Jarrett and David Onyemata couldn't make the difference we expected. And Street, well, I've already talked about him, right? Time to put the rookies in and see what they can do, because if the team is afraid to use the rookies, then what was the point of picking these guys in the draft? We have to change now, and fast. But not everything was a disaster, Falcons family. Our beloved kicker, Younghoe Koo, showed once again why he's one of the best in the league. The guy was simply brilliant. He scored 12 points for us and also kicked the decisive 58-yard field goal, the longest of his career. And that's not all, he made all his kicks from over 50 yards, which, for those who followed last season, knows was a concern. Koo is the true MVP of the game, without a shadow of a doubt. And we also have to give credit to Kader Hodge, who did an incredible job on special teams. He recovered that muffed punt from Rashid Shaheed and secured another touchdown for us. In the end, the special teams were responsible for 20 of our points, and even if that's not sustainable in the long run, it deserves to be celebrated today. Overall, guys, it was a game that showed a lot of what needs to be fixed, but the most important thing is that we got the win. Now it's time to seize the moment and make the Saints remember this loss for a long time, because that's what rivalries are, right? So, fans, what did you think of the game? Will Troy Anderson establish himself as one of the great pieces of the defense? Do we need to change the defensive line or give more time to the veterans? And our attack, does it need adjustments or are we on the right track? The Falcons beat the Saints 26-24 on a 58-yard field goal by Koo with just 2 seconds left in the game. Now, I know everyone was on edge until the last second, but that's our trademark lately, victories on the edge, with our hearts in our mouths. It wasn't a pretty game, that's the truth. We saw our offense struggle the whole time, and for the first time since 2004, we managed to win a game without scoring an offensive touchdown. Crazy, right? But the truth is that it was the defense and special teams that held the fort. We had a pick six by our linebacker Troy Anderson, who intercepted Derek Carr and took it home. And then there was Kaderil Hodge, who took advantage of a muff on Rashid Shaheed's punt and managed to recover the ball in the end zone. Without those decisive plays, we would probably be regretting a loss right now. Our offense failed to score a touchdown, and that's not a good sign, especially with Kirk Cousins in charge. Speaking of Cousins, he was very honest in the post-game press conference, admitting that he has a lot of room for improvement. He was 21 of 35 on passes, with 238 yards, but none for touchdowns, and 1 interception. There was that pass on the last drive that resulted in a crucial defensive interference, which helped put the ball in position for Koo's kick. But other than that, he didn't seem satisfied with his performance. He even said that he was sending voice messages to the coaches on the way home, full of ideas on how the team can improve. That shows that he's focused, but knows he needs to play better. Looking at the stats from the game, the Saints beat us in several areas. They had more first downs, 25 versus 14, more total yards, 366 versus 315, and dominated the time of possession, 35 minutes versus 24. And we can't ignore the 9 penalties we committed, totaling 76 lost yards. This ruined several promising plays and is something that Coach Raheem Morris will need to fix urgently. Another important point was the performance of the ground game. Bijan Robinson, who is usually a machine, had difficulty fitting into the game, rushing for only 28 yards on 7 attempts. Tyler Algier showed up well, and in the second half he managed to lift things up, rushing for 60 yards on 8 attempts. With 2 important pieces of our offensive line out, Drew Dalman and Caleb McGarry, Ryan Newsel and Storm Norton came in and did a good job holding down the fort. And how can we forget our kicker, right? Younghoe Koo was the hero once again, hitting that monstrous 58-yard kick to secure the victory. He was the MVP of the game, without a doubt. But, as much as we love a win, and even more so against the Saints, Cousins is right, we have a lot to improve. 3 fouls broke up promising drives, and the offense simply couldn't get going. Now, fans, what do you think of this victory? Was it more luck or skill? And what do the Falcons need to adjust to ensure more comfortable victories? Comment below, I want to hear your opinion. And of course, don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel to keep up with all the news about our Falcons. Until next time, go Falcons!